our campaign as a secret weapon. And that secret weapon is speaking right now in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Mitt Romney. And I understand the hardships facing ordinary Americans. For example, this summer, one of my horses failed to medal at the Olympics, so I know hardship.
Monday Night Live, having some fun at Mitt Romney's expense, and practicing how his deputy Ventura. The new book is Demo Crips and Republicans, Then More Gangs in Government. We'll be live along with our studio audience. Here's the thing, you can flip this round. Everyone's having a laugh at Mitt Romney's expense, and they're all saying Obama's stretching ahead of the polls and so on. But the reality is, Barack Obama's been there 4 years. Unemployment remains at an incredibly unacceptable figure of over 8%. You've got lots of people suffering, losing homes, jobs, livelihoods. Why should he get another 4 years?
Well, because
however many gaps Mitt Romney may be making, he is a very experienced, successful businessman. Could he not do a better job?
Well, first of all, they posed the question, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? I would say yes. George Bush and Dick Cheney are gone. So no matter what, we're better off today than we were 4 years ago.
You could
let's remember
let's rephrase the question and see how the audience reacts. How many of this audience personally, financially, feel genuinely better off after 4 years? If you do, applaud. Okay. And if you don't, applaud now. So it's probably about 50-50. So half of this...
I got that at about 70-30.
Let's put it at 60-40.
All right.
Maybe 60-40. But whatever it was, certainly a number of people in the room would agree they're not better off.
Okay, but let's get to brass tacks here. And again, I'm the independent. In the economy, things that are done 3, 4, 5 years ago show up today. So when the recession of 08 hit, which Barack Obama inherited, Bush did the first bailout. That was because it hit in 08 because of decisions done in 03, 04, when you had a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate. Why at the Republican convention, and I asked you this question, why wasn't George Bush allowed to speak, Dick Cheney allowed to speak? Because they just left office 3.5 years ago after serving 8 years. That's unconscionable that they weren't there. Why? The Republicans don't want anyone to remember who caused all this. I said to my wife, at the 08 election, I said to my wife, I wouldn't want it, you couldn't pay me to be the next president any amount of money, because whomever it is going to get the blame for all of what George Bush and Dick Cheney did. And that's precisely what you got. Now, has Obama fixed it? No, he has not. But is Mitt Romney the answer, going back to the old Republican ways that caused it in the first place? Americans have very short attention spans. They usually can only remember about a year ago. They need to remember about 4, 5, 6 years ago of who caused it.
Let's go to our first audience member question, Derek Whitecare. Derek, you got a question. On the basis there are rumours still flying around that this gentleman may run for office in 2016. What is your question?
Well, first, Governor, how you doing?
Good.
I'd like to thank you for having the guts to serve in our armed forces. I think a lot of politicians and so-called statesmen ought to take a page out of your book.
Well, it's not a requirement. No, let's be fair. It's not a requirement to serve in the military, to be the commander-in-chief, because he's a civilian. Maybe it's good for a little experience having done it, but it is not a requirement. The Constitution doesn't say you have to.
Anyway, we're not here to call you a hero. That's not my question.
Governor, my question is, if you were to run as independent, completely unaffiliated from any political party whatsoever, do you feel that that would help or hinder your ability to ultimately gain ballot access in all 50 states?
Oh, it'll require you, the people, to do it for me. But you know what? I need to see that. I need to see the American people rise up before I'm going to put my butt on the line again.
When will you put your butt on the line?
And the only way that'll happen, 2 criteria must happen. There must be, and I also abhor this ridiculous spending that they do to get elected. It's obscene. It's obscene. And I can say that because I can say that because when I ran for governor of Minnesota, I spent less money to get the job than what I made doing the job. I don't think there's an elected official that can make that statement in the last 50 years. I only raised $300,000 to become the governor of Minnesota. The Democrats and Republicans in the same race spent a combined $12 million, and that was back in '98.
Now, Jesse, will you be running or not in 2016?
I don't know. I need to have ballot access in all 50 states, and I need some type of guarantee that I will be allowed in the debates, because you cannot win if they won't let you debate, but if you can debate, you can win. Because in Minnesota at the primary, I was only polling between 8 to 10%. I was allowed in the debates. 7 weeks later, I was the governor of Minnesota. You know, they always say, Piers, in the private sector, competition's good, right? Then what we always hear, well, how come competition isn't good for president? Why has it been 20 years since we've seen any third voice in a presidential debate? Because these two parties they make the rules, and they will not let anyone else win. So I would require huge help from you, the people, because if I do run, and I run to win, I would be the first president elected in this country that would belong to no political party since George Washington, the father of our country.
Well, I would love to see you at one of those debates, actually, Jesse, but after the break, we're going to talk to you about Osama bin Laden and whether a Navy SEAL should be allowed to tell his story as one of the SEAL Team 6 is now.